Thank you very much, and I only have half the time that John had, so I'd better get to it immediately. I'm going to talk about three major trends today, three really big picture trends which I think will define the next 20 or 30 years. First of all, I'm going to say a few words about Forum for the Future. We're maybe slightly less well known than Cisco. We are a sustainability non-profit. We're based in London, New York, and Singapore, and we work with organizations to solve the most complex sustainability problems. We do this by working one-to-one with organizations. We have a very large network of major household organizations, and the key point is that we bring these organizations together to solve because the sustainability problems that we face are too big for any one organization to fix by itself. And in particular, we're increasingly putting together multi-stakeholder projects. We do this across the board. We focus in particular on the systems of food and energy. I lead our sustainable mobility work. I lead our wider transport work as well. So as well as this kind of thing, I might be dealing with 100,000-ton bulk carriers, making them more efficient next week. So it's a broad remit. And our two key tools, I would say, are systems thinking. Too often, we think of things too narrowly, in particular, just single mode type thinking. And we also use futures thinking. And so, for example, some of you may have come across our Megacities on the Move project, which looked at the future of mobility in really developing world cities a couple of years ago. So, three major trends. That's the last slide. And no videos, don't have time for that. Three major trends I want to talk about. And thanks to John for not having sort of stolen my thunder. The first one is that there's been a change in the way we drive, in the extent to which we drive, in the way in which we think about cars. Maybe I'll wander around a bit. And in particular, the youth of today, they think less about cars than they used to, and they're much more interested in their mobile devices. And this, in a way, this takes the pressure off. Maybe I'll go back to this. This takes the pressure off, begins to take the pressure off the growth in traffic. But it also changes the way people think about mobility. And it's not just a switch in terms of emphasis. It also means that young people in particular, they want to do things differently. Because if they're driving, they can't use their mobile device, or not to the extent that they would like to. So that's the first big trend. Some people call it peak car. I don't think it's quite clear that it is necessarily that yet. And certainly, you go out on the street, it's very clear that peak car, we are still at the top. But in the developed world, at any rate, we may be turning the edge, and we may be moving towards a lower level of car use. And I will go into some of the reasons for that in a minute. The second massive trend, technology. Now, we've just had a detailed exposition of technology potential. I'm going to pick out three killer apps in the technology area. And tell a little story of a journey I took a couple of weeks ago to illustrate this. I went to the west of England, the city of Bristol, not a city I know very well, a couple of weeks ago. I took the train in, planned and booked on my smartphone, tickets stored on my smartphone. I navigate my way through the city using my smartphone, find a car park, find a car-sharing car. I unlock it with my smartphone. It's a plug-in hybrid. I get in, I remember to unplug, and I glide off out of the city under electric power. Now, that very short, modern journey brings together three key elements of new, sustainable technology in mobility. The first is mobile ICT, mobile journey planning and mapping. We all know about this. We will have apps on our phones to do this, but it is vitally important. Applications like City Mapper, sad to see it's not in Brussels yet, they make public transport easy. A big barrier to public transport has always been that people find it, people in many cases don't understand it or find it hard to plan. Now you can press a button and it will tell you precisely where to get the bus, where to get off, and walk to your destination. The second killer app, car sharing, known as car clubs in the UK. I think car sharing are extremely important. I'm glad to see them well represented today. They are the perfect complement to public transport. We all need cars occasionally, but we don't need cars all the time, especially if we live in a city. By bringing in car sharing and combining it in a complementary way with public transport, you have a full mobility solution, and one which does not require enormous numbers of personal cars parked on the street, or, as John just said, driving around looking for a parking space. And the third killer app, which is vital to truly sustainable car transport, is the battery electric vehicle. Because electric vehicles, for the first time, offer the prospect of truly sustainable cars. There is, in my view, no other technology yet which does that. I don't feel so enthusiastic about hydrogen or biofuels, and I can expand on that later if you like. But the electric vehicle offers transformation, the potential for transformation of vehicles. So the third key trend, as you would expect, doing what we do, the third key trend is sustainability. And sustainability is not just being green, it is about doing things which actually can continue in the way they are. And what we're doing at the moment can't really continue in the way it is. A few months ago, we were asked to come and see TfL, Transport for London. They are facing, due to population growth and urbanisation, they are facing the prospect of 16% more people trying to get down London streets within the next 10 years. And they are asking, how can we even keep anything moving if we are facing that kind of increase in the demand for mobility? And with growth, the demand for mobility could be even higher than the plain population growth. So they were looking at some of the projects we were working on and going, how can you help us do this? How can you help us get the streets clearer? And that is not just London. The roughly 20% figure by 2030, that is the kind of increase in population that global cities overall are facing on average. So if we are going, we generally cannot just completely rebuild our cities. So we have to do more with what we have, with the streets that we have. So we have to do things very differently. The second key sustainability challenge is, of course, climate change. It's not going away. It's growing and becoming more apparent by the day. And it's not going to be fixed by the odd 5% here and the odd 10% there. We really have to get, by 2050, and this is just about within most of our lifetimes, we have to get to pretty much near zero carbon mobility by that time, due mainly to the difficulties of decarbonising areas like industry and heat. It's the electricity and mobility sectors which need to decarbonise. So that is the second of the key challenges. Now, that may sound kind of scary, but at the same time, the technology trends I just outlined are more than capable, in my view, of meeting the enormous challenge of urban population growth and climate change. We have great challenges, but we also have great solutions. In the solutions that I've just outlined, and indeed the ones that John just went through, I think all the technology elements of a future sustainable city are here. The future is here already, and as I was discussing with one of my colleagues earlier on, it's just not well distributed yet. But I think what we have is we have the future already in small doses, but it has to be scaled. Now, these technologies, the scaling, it won't happen. They won't happen by themselves. Technology is only one ingredient. We need a number of others, and we will be talking about them more widely today. But in particular, we have to make the effort. We have to decide at a city level what we want to do, and we have to take a long-term view. It's no good to take a 3 or 4 year view. We need a multi-decade view from strong and decisive city government. We need integrating thinking, and we need public and private organisations to work together. And we see that we are working on these kinds of projects. We're working on a multi-mode mobility project in the city of Leeds in the UK, bringing together the public providers of public transport and private ICT and car-sharing organisations. So I think this is an optimistic vision, because the challenges are matched by technology which is here now. I'm confident without any further development that we can do this with what we have already. So thank you very much.